Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In the next few videos what I'm going to be doing is sharing the latest edits that I've been doing. I've had a lot of requests for these. You won't necessarily learn anything new particularly. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I think it'll be very interesting for you to see what I've been doing just lately. This is one of the latest ones, Blue Lilies. And if you can see, this is the finished image. This is what it started out like on a black background. That is the background I used in the end. And these are the two. There's a texture and a blurred image that I'll put together to make that background. So what I'll do is I'll show you how I've done that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the move tool. I'm going to pick up this background and I'm going to move it across to the blurred. Pull it down and release the mouse button. Let's just resize it a little bit. And what I'm going to do is just put it over the image so it fits. And they're both the same, they're both A4 size. And I'll say okay to that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the opacity on layer number 1, which is the textured. So we take the opacity slider, open the layers palette, and we'll bring it down. And I think it was probably, let's just have a look, 25%, about there, 25%, because I don't really want to show too much of that texture. I do want this nice blurry background to come in as well. Now what we can do is we can turn saturation down. So let's go into adjustments, hue, saturation. This is on the background. So let's have a look what happens if we turn it right down. No, we don't really want it like that, do we? So let's cancel that. Let's try it on the layer, which is the textured one. So we go to image, adjustments, hue and saturation. Let's try that. Doesn't really, no. I think it takes some of the colouring out, so I think we'll leave it at that. That's fine. So let's just take it to 0. What we can do on this layer, we can also give that a bit more colour. So let's try the background. Go up to image, adjustments, hue and saturation. Let's see what happens when we turn the saturation up a little. Makes it a bit brighter. Yeah, and I think that's quite nice as it is. What was that? So that was 13. So let's just say plus 15. And we say okay to that. Now when you're happy with it, just flatten the layer, flatten the image, and then save it. You can save it as your finished background or whatever you want to save it as, and save it as a JPEG. The image size, let's just have a look at the image size. It's 3508 pixels in height. Okay, if you look at the image we're going to move it to, the image size on that is 3508. It doesn't matter if they are different sizes because it is a blurred image after all. You know, it's just a textured blurred image, and if you stretch it to fit, it won't really matter too much. But just for this, I've got it the same size as the main image we're going to transfer it to. So that's the background dealt with. But you can play around with it to suit yourself. You can save it whatever name you want to put on it. Mine was called Finish Background, so I'm actually going to get rid of these and I'm going to work on my background. So let's get rid of these. Don't save. So there we've got background that I'm going to work with. Okay, so the difference with this image is I've already tried it, obviously, because this is the finished one. But I've decided that to get to this point, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select the subject, select a mask, and I'm going to bring that finished image over to the background. Because as you'll see, because it's on a black background, Select and Mask did a very, very good job of selecting the whole subject. Now, if it was on a similar coloured background, say if it was on that background, Select and Mask may do quite well, it may not. And in that case, I'd probably mask the flowers through an overlay. But in this case, because I think that Photoshop is going to do a good job of selecting the subject, that's the way I'm going to go. I have shown you that in previous videos, but we'll go through it again now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to select subject. Take a little while. Let's just zoom in and have a look and see what it hasn't selected. Well, it hasn't selected the stem for a start. So I'm going to go up to quick selection tool. And you see here you've got your plus and minus. Obviously your plus is going to bring more of the image in, minus is going to take it away. So I can see straight away that it hasn't selected the stem. So I've got a reasonable sized brush, and I'm going to, and you've got it on plus, I'm going to select the stem. And don't worry if it's not a perfect selection. Now let's have a look up here. I can see at the top it's actually selected, because what I don't want to have to do is do too much in select and mask. So I can see a little bit there, look. Okay, so we'll go back to the quick selection tool, and we're going to click minus because we want to take some away. Make the brush a bit smaller and just go down there. So that's that taken out. There's another part here that I didn't want in, so I'm just going to gently go down the side of this stem. What you have to be careful of is it deselects. Try that a little bit again. And click the plus because I can see that little bit there. Right, so let's just have a look over the rest of the image. I think it's got everything there. Just take a look over the whole of it. I think that looks fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it into select and mask. So at the top here, you've got the little box. Just click that and you'll go into select and mask. Now, as I've probably spoken to you about it in other videos, it depends on what view you want here. I've got it on layers. It actually depends on what the colour of the image is and what's actually going to stand out. So you've got red. It depends on the colour of your image. That will show up any bits that you need to tidy up. But you've got all these selections here, black and white. But for this particular one, I think it's fine on layers. So let's just have a look. Let's zoom in and see if there's anything we need to correct. If you need to correct anything, what you're going to do is you're going to go over to the middle one here. And you're going to have the plus. All you need to do, I could see a bit of black there. Yeah, let's took that out. And you have to have it on plus to take it away. I know that sounds a bit strange. I don't think there's really anything else on here that needs doing. It's made a really good job of it, actually. I think Photoshop's getting better and better with each update. Yeah, I think that's fine. So if we go over to the right hand side, I've got it on remember settings because some of these settings that I've got now seem to be pretty ideal. So I've got the radius on 5. I've got the smooth on 10. Feather on 2. That gives it a nice soft edge. I don't really bother with contrast too much. Shift edge, well, that's as it says. Shift the edge. So if you look at that, it actually takes the edge out. So where was I? It's about 60%, wasn't it? So I put 60% in. Minus 60. In fact, it might be more. Let's try minus 65. What we're going to do is we're going to decontaminate colours, and we're going to do a new layer with a layer mask. I think that's quite a good selection. But as I say, it's been successful because you've got a black background with these lovely bright colours, and that's why it's made such a good selection. There's a definite contrast between the image and the background. So we're going to say okay to that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move this image onto your background. So this is where the difference is. Normally what I do with backgrounds are very similar to the main image. I would actually mask the image through the overlay, but with this, see, an overlay is, as it says, you're putting it over the top of an image and then putting it on a mask and bringing the image through. With this one, this is the background, and we're actually moving the image onto the background. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the move tool and we're going to hold the mouse button down and take that up to the background. Bring it down, loose the mouse button. Okay, so I'm going to position where I want it, which is about there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften this image a bit. So we need the brush. We need it on, let's put it on 25% opacity. We're going to be on the mask. We're going to have black brush, 25%. And quite a big brush. I'm going to go all the way over it at 25%. Now I'm going to do the stem. And I'd rather do it in small increments to keep going until the stem disappears right at the bottom and it's sort of quite blurry. So that's the stem done. And you can go over this as many times as you want to, but I'm just going to go over 25% now, just sort of blending the edges in so it looks more natural. As I say, you can do it, you don't have to use 25%, but it gives it a softer look. Do the stem a bit more, go around the edges, and you don't have to be absolutely perfect with this. So if you want to go around again, you could just go through over the tips or the petals. Now you can save it as that, but don't forget if you've probably called it, if you've probably saved your background, you've called it whatever the name is. That is the number of your file. So it depends what you want to call it. So you can save this as a PSD, Photoshop file. So then you can go back to it and alter it if you want to. Now what I do to finish the image off, you can see I'll put a stroke around the edge. What I'll do is I'll show you how to do that. We've got to flatten the image. So you need to already save it if you want to, so you can go back and do the alterations, because you might want to change, the background. You know, you could, I don't know, change the colour. So if you went up here, you could do, say, colour balance and start just, which is only going to change the background. You could do things like that, but put it on a separate layer if you do that, because you can always, with having a separate layer, it's non-destructive, and you can delete the layer if you want to. So I'm going to flatten the image, because you can't put a stroke around it unless you flatten the image and you unlock the layer. We'll go up to edit, stroke. Now that's the last colour I had in, so let's just, I think that colour there. But you can choose any colour you want. The best thing to do is, if you want to choose a colour, is to get your eyedropper and just find a colour anywhere. And the eyedropper will give you a colour. So I did that one. I think that's nearest to the one that I've got there already. But you can have just plain white as well. So if we go to stroke, go to edit, go to stroke, and I've got 15 in there. So if we say OK, we've got a nice stroke around the edge. If you don't want blue, go to edit, stroke, click the colour box, and you can have white. OK. Well, I quite like something that matches the image. Let's select it with your eyedropper, go up to stroke, say OK. That's it. That's all there is to it. Hope you've enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments box below, and I'll be back again with another edit. Thanks for watching. Take care.